You know, the coaching industry is worth billions of dollars, but for so many individual coaches, their bank account, well, it tells a very different story. So why is that? The answer is actually way simpler and more fundamental than you might think. It's not about the market being too crowded, and it's not about a lack of talent. It comes down to a single, undefined element right at the heart of their business.
And this quote, man, it just nails it. So many coaches out there are selling conversations, they're selling sessions, they're selling their time. But let's be real. Conversations don't command premium prices. Specific, measurable results, that's what does. And that right there, that's the big disconnect we're going to unpack in this explainer.
So this leads us to what you could call the coaching paradox. We've got this booming industry with more certifications and programs than ever before, yet so many talented, deeply caring coaches are flat out struggling to make a living. What is really going on here?
See, a lot of coaches are running on this belief that if they just care enough, if they just ask those really powerful questions, then the money will just follow. But here's the hard truth. Empathy, while it's absolutely crucial for the work you do, is not a business strategy. It's not the architecture you need to build a profitable, sustainable business.
Think of it this way. Without a defined process, you're basically selling your energy and your time. You're a freelancer, right? Trading hours for dollars? But with a structured system, you're not selling time anymore. You're selling a product, a predictable result. And that product can be priced based on its value, not on how many hours you poured into it.
So what's the real villain holding so many coaches back? It all boils down to one simple, powerful word: ambiguity. Just a fundamental lack of clarity about what's being delivered, how it's being delivered, and what that final result is actually going to look like.
Okay, I want you to be really honest with yourself on this one. If you asked your absolute best client what specifically you do for them, could they give you a concrete, measurable answer? Or would they say something vague like, oh, she's amazing, she just helps me get clarity? And this is where you see the huge difference between an experience and a transformation. Look, hearing that you gave someone a great experience feels awesome, but it's not commercially powerful. A transformation, on the other hand, is a measurable change. It's that after picture that you can hold up right next to the before and see the difference.
And look, I get it. These approaches, things like open-ended sessions, they usually come from a really good place. Coaches want to be flexible, they want to be client-centric, but from a buyer's perspective, all that flexibility can easily look like uncertainty. It makes the path, and more importantly, the end result, feel completely undefined.
And here's the bottom line. When a potential client can't see a clear path from their problem to your solution, they get nervous. And guess what? Nervous buyers, they do not write big checks. That ambiguity is literally like a tax on your income.
So if ambiguity is the enemy, what's the solution? Well, the solution is to build a real architecture for what you do. We're calling it the transformation stack. It's a framework for engineering clarity right into the DNA of your offer.
Think of this like the blueprint for your service. Now, this isn't about being rigid or robotic or anything like that. It's about having a clear, reliable plan that delivers a specific, measurable result for a very specific kind of client every single time.
Okay, so this is the heart of it. 5 distinct layers. It starts with a super precise diagnosis of where the client is today. Then it identifies the one critical thing standing in their way. It lays out the path forward, marks their progress with clear wins, and finishes at a concrete, defined destination. Let's break them down. All right, first up, you've got to be laser-focused on the client's starting point. Not just they feel stuck, but a cold, hard fact like they're earning less than $3,000 a month. Then you have to pinpoint the single core obstacle. In this case, it's not about a lack of skill. It's a specific pricing fear. If you can't name the obstacle, you can't design the solution. It's that simple.
Okay, next, you build the actual path. This means having a structured process. Think of it as a repeatable roadmap for your client. And along that roadmap, you need those clear signposts, measurable milestones like a specific jump in revenue to show progress and build momentum. And finally, you have to have a defined end state, not a feeling, but a concrete result that proves the transformation actually happened.
So you've built this amazing, clear architecture. Now what? How do you tell the world about it? This is where you make the shift from sounding vague to sounding incredibly valuable. It's all about translating that internal structure into an external message that high-value clients can't ignore.
I mean, the difference here is just night and day, right? The weak positioning is full of buzzwords that anybody could claim. But the strong positioning, it's a laser-focused solution. It calls out exactly who it's for,
what their biggest problem is, the measurable economic result, and even a time frame. That is something you can charge a premium for. And you know what's incredible? When you get this clear, everything else in your business just gets easier. Suddenly, your marketing just works. Those sales calls, they stop being about desperately convincing people and start being about simply seeing if you're a good fit. And you get way better referrals because people know exactly who to send your way.
So make no mistake about it. This clarity thing, it's not just some nice-to-have communication tactic. It is your single greatest point of commercial leverage. It's the key that finally lets you escape that trap of selling your time and lets you start selling a valuable, predictable outcome.
All right, this brings us to the final and maybe the most important piece of the puzzle. And this one is personal. It's about shifting your own identity, from being someone who just has helpful conversations to being someone who truly architects value for their clients. You really have to ask yourself, what game am I playing? Selling sessions is a time-based model, and there are only so many hours in the day. That means your income will always have a hard ceiling. But a results-based model, where you sell a transformation, that decouples your income from your time. Your value is in the outcome, not the hours you clock.
So what this really means is you've got to rethink what you actually need to be successful. Look, the answer to being underpaid isn't getting another certification or trying to cram more sessions into your week. It's about building a structured, undeniable position in the market and being able to prove your value with tangible, measurable outcomes.
And I really want to be clear about this. This whole idea, it's not an attack on the heart and soul of what coaching is. It's the exact opposite. This framework is designed to strengthen the profession. It takes all the incredible empathy and insight that great coaches have and gives it a structure that allows it to be valued properly in the marketplace.
So as we wrap this up, it all comes down to this one question I want to leave you with. Take a hard, honest look at your business. Are you selling conversations by the hour? Or are you architecting, building, and delivering a real, measurable transformation? Because really, the answer to that question, it's going to define your entire future as a coach.